In this video, we'll be taking a look at the new ROG NUC 16 mini gaming PC by ASUS. For this review, I have with me the flagship model of the ROG NUC 16 that's powered by Intel's high-end Core Ultra 9 290HX mobile processor. As the successor to the ROG NUC 2025 that I reviewed back in September 2025, let's take a look at the specs of the ROG NUC 16, unbox it and run some benchmarks to see how it performs. Packaging wise, ASUS has gone with the usual black and red ROG colorway, and over on the rear, we get a sticker with a summary on the specifications of the ROG NUC 16 mini PC. Let's take a quick look at the specs of the review unit that I was sent for this video, the NUC 16 JNK. ASUS has equipped this review sample with a top-of-the-line Intel Core Ultra 9 290HX mobile processor, which is a 24-core part with 8 P-cores and 16 E-cores. The PC also ships with NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 5080 mobile GPU with 16GB of GDDR7 VRAM. We've also got two 16GB sticks of Micron DDR5 6400C SO-DIMM RAMs for a total of 32GB of RAM, and storage-wise, the ROG NUC 16 has a SanDisk SN5100S 2TB SSD pre-installed. Audio is powered by a Realtek ALC3342CG audio codec, while for your internet connectivity needs, we've got an Intel Killer BE1750X Wi-Fi 7 module with built-in Bluetooth 5.4 support, as well as a Realtek RTL8125D 2.5GB Ethernet controller. We do also get the following I/O ports with the ROG NUC 16. I'll run through the mini PC's connectivity in detail later on in this video. With that, onto the contents of the box. In terms of documentation, first up, we get a warranty information leaflet right here. And this is accompanied by a safety information booklet, as well as a regulatory information booklet right here. Moving on, we get a pair of stands that are to be used to mount the NUC 16 in either a horizontal or vertical position. I'll demonstrate their use later on in this video. We do also get a 380W AC adapter in this compartment right here. We do also get the corresponding power cord in this compartment here. Taking a closer look at the ROG NUC 16, it's constructed entirely of plastic with the dimensions that I've listed on the screen. Aesthetics wise, it's available in black and, I believe for the first time with a ROG NUC mini PC, a white colorway too. Appearances wise, it's actually very similar to the ROG NUC 2025. We've got an illuminated RGB LED strip right below the ROG logo, and further down, your usual front panel I/O connectors. On one side of the mini PC, we get a clear plastic panel where a ROG logo with RGB lighting effects is clearly visible, alongside a single ventilation opening that exposes a blower-style cooling fan. We do also get red-coloured vents like so for a touch of contrast. The RGB lighting effects of the ROG logo can be configured via the ASUS Armoury Crate app from within Windows. On the other side of the mini PC, we get ventilation cutouts in the shape of the ROG wordmark, where two blower-style cooling fans are visible if you look closely enough. Moving on, we also get ventilation openings on the rear and on the short edges of the ROG NUC 16. Unlike the previous gen ROG NUC 2025 that was designed to be placed only in the horizontal position, the ROG NUC 16 can be placed in either the horizontal or vertical position, where we get a removable stand that can be used in either the horizontal or vertical positions like so. Also, ASUS has included what it calls a G sensor that optimizes thermal settings based on which orientation that the ROG NUC 16 is placed in. Taking a closer look at the front I/O, we've got a power button, a 3.5mm audio combo jack, a USB 20Gbps Type-C port with support for the following power delivery profiles, as well as two USB 10Gbps Type-A ports. Over on the rear, the ROG NUC 16 comes with 4 USB 10Gbps Type-A ports, a 2.5GB Ethernet port, as well as a Thunderbolt 4 port that supports the DisplayPort 2.1 standard with the power delivery profiles that you can see on the screen. Moving on, we get 2 DisplayPort 2.1 ports as well as 2 HDMI 2.1 ports. According to ASUS, the ROG NUC 16 supports up to 5 displays at 4K simultaneously. To round things off, we get a power adapter port as well as a Kensington lock slot. For service access, you'll have to undo just one single thumb screw like so. And thereafter, slide the lid out towards yourself. After sliding the lid off, you'll then have to carefully flip the lid in this direction, reason being that the illuminated ROG logo is connected to the motherboard via this cable, and you wouldn't want to rip the SID cable off from the motherboard by accident. With the cable disconnected and the lid out of the way, we now have full access to the motherboard. Right, so here's the motherboard of the ROG NUC 16 on full display. We've got the Intel Core Ultra 9 290HX situated beneath this blower style CPU cooler, and in these highlighted areas, we've got the two M.2 slots that the mini PC comes with, of which this slot here is populated by the pre-installed SanDisk 2TB NVMe SSD that comes with the ROG NUC 16 as standard. Do note that while the included SanDisk drive is a PCIe 4.0 X4 part, the slot that this drive is installed on is actually a PCIe 5.0 X4 slot, meaning to say that you can replace it with a Gen 5 drive if you'd like. The other M.2 slot is a PCIe 4.0 X4 slot that can be used for an optional second M.2 NVMe drive. Seeing as PCIe 5.0 drives tend to run pretty hot, it's great to see that the pre-installed SanDisk SSD comes with a heatsink assembly, despite the SID drive not being a Gen 5 drive. The included heatsink assembly is going to come in useful in keeping SSD temperatures at bay should you choose to upgrade to a PCIe 5.0 M.2 drive in the future. Removing and replacing the pre-installed drives pretty straightforward, where it involves undoing this M.2 Q latch and removing the M.2 drive from the slot. Removing the heatsink assembly from the M.2 drives pretty straightforward as well. All you've got to do is to undo these retention levers from beneath the side hooks of the SSD bracket. With this done, you can then lift the heatsink away from the SID bracket. With the heatsink out of the way, you can then pry off the pre-installed drive from the SSD bracket. Moving on, in this area here is the Intel Killer BE1750X Wi-Fi 7 module, which is located underneath this metal shroud that's held in place by two screws. As can be seen, the module utilizes the M.2 KeyE form factor, which means that you can upgrade this module to something newer further down the road, say a Wi-Fi 8 module when Wi-Fi 8 becomes commonplace. Memory support wise, we get two DDR5 SODIMM slots that are pre-populated with two Micron 16GB DDR5 6400 C SODIMM modules for a total of 32GB of RAM. In case you're unaware, DDR5 C SODIMMs, unlike standard DDR5 SODIMMs, come with an onboard clock driver so as to improve signal integrity. As of the time of publishing this video, the ROG NUC 16 supports a maximum of 128GB of RAM, that is, two 64GB sticks of RAM. To round things off in the motherboard section, we get easy access to the CMOS battery, where it's situated right next to the second M.2 slot. With that, the ROG NUC 16 is very similar to the ROG NUC 2025 that I had the chance to review last year. Do check out that video if you haven't already done so, and you'll be forgiven for mistaking one for the other. Key differences between the ROG NUC 16 and the ROG NUC 2025 boil down to the processor, GPU choices, supposed improvements to cooling, the Ethernet controller, as well as aesthetic tweaks. With the ROG NUC 2025, we've got the older flagship Arrow Lake Core Ultra 9 275HX leading the pack, and on the ROG NUC 16, we've got the Arrow Lake Refresh Core Ultra 9 290HX, which is basically a 275HX with higher clock speeds. The ROG NUC 16 comes with either NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 5080 mobile GPU or the 5070 Ti mobile GPU, while the older ROG NUC 2025 comes with a much wider range of mobile NVIDIA GPUs, from the very same mobile RTX 5080 to the much more mainstream mobile RTX 5060 GPU. It's worth noting that ASUS has included several power profiles within the BIOS of the ROG NUC 16, max performance, balance, which is the default power profile, and low power. Within the ASUS Armoury Crate software within Windows, we also get a section for tweaking operating modes, where performance is the default setting. For the purposes of benchmarking the ROG NUC 16, I'll be running all tests on the default performance mode in Armoury Crate, and in terms of BIOS settings, I've left the power mode on the default balance enabled setting. Also, I'll be testing the ROG NUC 16 in the horizontal orientation, which apparently enables better cooling compared to the vertical orientation. To put the ROG NUC 16 through its paces, I'll first be running 7-zips compression and decompression test, Cinebench 2024 as well as Cinebench R23 so as to test the performance of the Core Ultra 9 290HX processor. Thereafter, to get a handle on the ROG NUC 16's gaming prowess, I'll be running the in-game benchmark tests of Black Myth Wukong, Cyberpunk 2077, F1 23, as well as Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 1440p and 4K. Finally, I'll also be running CrystalDiskMark to check on the performance of the pre-installed SanDisk M.2 SSD. Worth mentioning here that ASUS does state that gaming performance is better when the PC is placed in the horizontal orientation, presumably due to better airflow, so I'll be testing it in the said horizontal orientation. Let's get started. Benchmark results done and dusted, let's take a look at thermals and power draw. The following results were obtained via Hardware Info 64's sensor readouts while running F1 23's in-game benchmark for around 9 minutes in a non-air conditioned room with an ambient temperature of 30 degrees Celsius. As can be seen from the results on the screen, the Core Ultra 9 290HX processor achieved an average CPU package temperature of around 82.5 degrees Celsius, where it hit a maximum temperature of 104 degrees Celsius during benchmarking. CPU package power draw was around 46.9 watts during the benchmark, with a maximum power draw of 72 watts. The GeForce RTX 5080 mobile GPU, on the other hand, achieved an average GPU temperature of 76.3 degrees Celsius and a maximum GPU temperature of 79.3 degrees Celsius, while for GPU memory junction temperatures, we get an average temperature of 79.5 degrees Celsius and a maximum recorded temperature of 82 degrees Celsius. In terms of power draw, we've got an average GPU power draw of 173 watts and a maximum power draw figure of 173.7 watts. The idle, thermal and power draw figures are as per what you see on the screen. The Core Ultra 9 290HX had an average idle temperature of 62.3 degrees Celsius while drawing an average of 18.1 watts of power when idle. The RTX 5080 mobile GPU, on the other hand, achieved an average temperature of 46.1 degrees Celsius and an idle GPU memory junction temperature of around 54 degrees Celsius, all while drawing about 10.2 watts of power when idle. A brief note on acoustics. The ROG NUC 16 was audible under gaming workloads, but not to the point that it'd be something I'd consider very noisy. In a room with around 48.7 decibels of ambient noise levels, my decibel meter recorded 49.6 decibels of noise when the ROG NUC 16 was idle and 51.9 decibels of noise when under a typical gaming workload. To sum up, the ASUS ROG NUC 16 represents a minor step up in performance over the ROG NUC 2025 that's powered by the Core Ultra 9 275HX, which is unsurprising really, given that the Core Ultra 9 290HX in the ROG NUC 16 is basically a Core Ultra 9 275HX with higher clock speeds. Taken in a vacuum, the ROG NUC 16 is a premium mini PC offering that's well suited for gaming at decent frame rates at the 1080p and 1440p resolution. Given its performance, 4K gaming is definitely possible, but be prepared to turn down the graphics settings a bit, or enable DLSS or frame generation so as to get a FPS uplift. Seeing as the ROG NUC 16 has pretty much the same chassis as the ROG NUC 2025, once again, it's relatively well built and comes with a good assortment of I/O options. Unfortunately, thermal performance is not the best, where CPU temperatures were relatively high when under gaming and productivity workloads. As of the time of publishing this review, retail availability for the ROG NUC 16 is expected to be sometime in the third quarter of 2026, and while I don't have any price information on hand yet, I'm expecting the ROG NUC 16 to cost a pretty penny, seeing as number 1, this is a ROG product after all, and number 2, RAM and SSD prices are still at all-time highs thanks to the AI data center boom. The most obvious alternative here could be to build your own gaming PC in, say, the ITX form factor, and in all likelihood, you'll be able to build something with much better specs for the same price. However, if budget is of no concern to you, you're a fan of the ROG brand, and you appreciate the convenience of a powerful mini gaming PC that's ready to go out of the box, then I suppose the ROG NUC 16 would be worthy of your consideration. With that, thank you so much for watching, hit the like button and get subscribed if you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys around the next time.